Greetings, this is Griff Ruby with another segment reviewing Isaac Asimov's story as it originally appeared. And this time, once again, it is in astounding science fiction, this time the March 1945 issue. And this time, the name of the story, as given in the table of contents here, is, I'm pointing to with my finger, Blind Alley by Isaac Asimov, page 139. So, again, no more blurbs, but 139. Now, Blind Alley is actually the first of his stories to be anthologized elsewhere. I don't have that anthology on hand, sorry to say, but it got anthologized in some few places, and finally it's kind of declined in importance in the face of things like Nightfall or Foundation installments and Robot installments, and maybe one or two other major classics among his stories, his fiction and short stories. But it's out there, and of course the now present official place for it within his main double-day published books of science fiction would be in the early Asimov. So it's collected into there. That tells the whole story of the story, of all the early short stories of Isaac Asimov during the era that gave him most of iRobot and all of the Foundation, well, or most of that too, and you counter that one section that was written for the first of the 3 volumes for Marty Greenberg. Okay, well, once again, there's a little publisher's blurb on the first page, which reads, "Bureaucracy is a wonderful thing. That divided responsibility, the impossibility of getting anything as subtle as the reactions of an alien race to paternalism through the things hopeless. But it is surprising what an old and adept hand can do with it." So this has kind of an unusual background. He's working on a Navy contract, and there's all these communications they exchange from one person to another, and this very, very dry, turgid way they have to say these things. And this has a lot of these quotes that draw heavily from that writing style. As he says, I could never have came up with that, but this is how we're all supposed to write everything, and it's all just pretty much cut and paste, from a handful of specific models. So you just fill in the specific things, and you said what you need to say exactly how it's supposed to be said. It's all part of the bureaucracy and how it works. So this one is kind of unusual because it involves alien beings. Well, a number of his early stories involve alien beings. What is distinctive is now he's gotten to the point where he doesn't really write much about alien beings much anymore. Not that he won't ever again, but usually it's special cases and so forth. These particular alien beings are, in fact, a very special case because he's kind of avoided alien beings as a subject matter when he's writing stories for John Campbell, because the humans have to be stronger and better and smarter and more survivable and more surprising and, etc., etc., etc. Man the darer, man the explorer, etc. More so than any alien being, even if they can be maybe more advanced from being a far older culture or whatever. So, but here was a case where these alien beings are relatively modest and small and not significant, and as it were, human beings have already rescued them from some one planet that was kind of dying as a place for them to live, and they provided them with another planet that was very similar to what they wanted, and they provided everything. All their needs are met. In fact, you see a picture of that in the very first cover or first page of the story. Now here there's a fountain that squirts all this water all the time, day and night, and these aliens, they have some sort of a tube that can extend out of their face to go and suck up the water. And that's what they're doing. As they get thirsty, they just gather around the fountain and suck in the water, and that's great. So that's one of the little bits of the existence of these alien beings. But the problem is, having done all this deprives them of every challenge. They need to struggle. They need to, they need to have accomplishments. There's nothing you can do when everything's just taken care of. And so you have this one character by the name of Ligurn Antioch. Ligurn Antioch. Curious name. And there's all these little bits of administrivia. It starts off with one other tiny tidbit, which I find personally somewhat interesting itself. It starts with a little header, and this is in the published versions of the story. It says, "Only once in galactic history was an intelligent race of non-humans discovered." I guess the Lhasinu of Pilgrimage / Galactic Crusade / Black Friar of the Flame are either forgotten or they're kind of quasi outside the Foundation epic. I don't know. But at any rate, here we are. There's these alien beings. And in fact, it's like 900 and something years into the Galactic Empire. Now, I'm not sure if that's talking about when the Galactic Empire finally became galactic or when it was started as some political unit with Trantor as its head established, such that it would continue to grow and eventually expand into galactic. So that's not very clear and probably not very relevant to this story. The point is, this is a quote from a work called Essays on History by our good friend Ligurn Vier. Yeah, the historian quoted in the Foundation stories. So that's kind of cool. So it's the same universe. It's the same historian. Now, obviously, a different essay on a much earlier historical period wherein these particular alien beings are concerned. So this is kind of neat how we bridge this. I'm just going to read one just that starts it off. From Bureau for the Outer Provinces to Ligurn Antioch, Chief Public Administrator A-8. Subject: Civilian Supervisor of Cepheus 18. Administrative position as. References: A. Act of Council 21515 of the year. Act of the Council 2515 of the year 971 of the Galactic Empire. Year. Okay, 971 of the Galactic Empire, entitled Appointment of Officials of the Administrative Service, Methods for Revision of. B. Imperial Directive JA 2374, dated 243/975 GE, or Galactic Era. So I guess we're 971 or 75 years into the Galactic Era. Okay. And then 1. By authorization of reference A, you are hereby appointed to the subject position. The authority of said position as civilian supervisor of Cepheus 18 will extend over non-human subjects of the Emperor living upon the planet under the terms of autonomy set forth in reference B. 2. The duties of the subject position shall comprise the general supervision of all non-human internal affairs, coordination of authorized government investigating and reporting committees, and the preparation of semi-annual reports on all phases of the non-human affairs. C, or conclusion, I guess. Morally, Chief Bureaucrat, I guess that's an acronym for Bureau of Outer Provinces, 12977 GE. So this is taking place in 977 years of the Galactic Empire. I'm not quite sure where this fits in terms of the history that we see in Robots of an Empire or Stars Like Dust or currents of space, or Pebble in the sky, but it's somewhere in there. It's in there somewhere. And then we get to the story. Now it reads, most of it reads just like a normal story, but every now and then you've got these bits of officialese, which it's kind of humorous how everything gets achieved. See, Ludin Antioch, he's a kind person, and he does have at least some sort of blessing from the Emperor, who seems to feel some bit of compassion for these non-human beings and kind of would like to help them. So, but he doesn't know what he can do in the constraints of stuff. But Ludin Antioch is not only a compassionate soul, he's a very brilliant manipulator of the bureaucratic system. He knows how to make it work. So, he's got to come up with these different ways. He has them exercising, first they become a concern because there's no children appearing among them. We should try to investigate why. This is a concern. If they die out while we're in charge of their lives, then that is a terrible loss, and we would be responsible. We can't have that. So eventually, with a little help through the bureaucratic messages and some other kind of helps, eventually it's turned into, well, there's going to be much more official investigation needed. Then the next thing is he decides to exercise their minds and test their intellects by having them practice using the controls of spaceships, how to operate them. Would they know how to do that? Can they learn, a complex technical skill? And that just seemed like something that would be very reasonable. So some training ships are sent, and the alien beings start learning from these. And then finally, there's a part where they're in the office. One of them is in the office conversing with Antioch and somebody else, I'm not sure who. You see it one of the alien beings. And if you look carefully, it's kind of hard to see in there. But there's sort of a globe tall thing standing on the table between them. It kind of looks like a giant cup with a cap over it. And it spins and it makes these exotic little light projections and so forth. And it's a really fascinating thing. And the alien finally looks at that and says, "Oh, that's really pretty." And says, "Yeah, it is." Well, maybe we'd like those. So he's going to order a whole bunch of them. Apparently there are some sort of temporary fashion, sort of a galactic equivalent of fidget spinners maybe, or some, but a little more ornamental and a little less merely mechanical in their structure. One of those things that come in for a little while and then they're gone again in terms of fashion, but there's still a whole bunch of them left over. These, however, happen to be rather large and delicate things that require careful package and storage and so forth, such that a spaceship can only carry about 20 of them at a time, and they wanted to order one for each and every one of the aliens, which is about 5,000. So that's a lot of ships bringing these things in. So everything's all moving forward officially. It's kind of an interesting glimpse of kind of World War II soldiers. We need our soldiers. He got the Purple Heart, Will the bond prove too costly for you? He got the Purple Heart. He's fighting out there getting hurt in battle. And you're not willing to buy some, savings bonds, war bonds to help finance World War II. Well, this is World War II time. World War II is going full blast since this is being published. Okay, now we get to the next story, the picture that's part of the story. And here's where the aliens now actually operating one of the spaceships so that they can escape, as a matter of fact, this whole galaxy into the Magellan Cloud, which is another small spherical galaxy kind of close to ours, almost kind of maybe intersecting it a bit, but anyway, way at the one part. So they're going to go over to that galaxy, and we'll leave them alone, and they'll leave us alone, and they can have their own accomplishments there and have their own pursuit of, greater things, and striving once again. And so he has in effect rescued those beings. And it's kind of cool how all the officialese works out just perfectly. At the very end, The empire is saying from Bureau of Outer Provinces, or Bureaucrat, to Ludin Antioch, Chief Public Administrator A-8, Subject Administrative Service standing in. Reference A. Adserv Court Decision 22874-Q dated 1/978 Galactic Era. 1. In view of the favorable opinion handed down in reference A, you are hereby absolved of all responsibility for the flight of the non-humans on Cepheus 18. It is requested that you hold yourself in readiness for your next appointment. R. Horprit, Chief Adserv, Administrative Service, I suppose, 15/978 Galactic Era. Wow. All that officialese. So he manages to use that. So that makes that kind of a neat and clever story. It is clearly in the Foundation universe, but at the same time, it's back when the Galactic Era was still young, and the need for foundations, maybe 10 or 11,000 years down the pike. So it's really set in a whole different time. I wasn't able to identify any textual differences between, other than the added blurbs and the drawings, of course, between the original publication and the one found in the early Asimov. So that's pretty much a story you can just get faithfully reproduced. Thanks for listening.